playing the pen. Hi, folks. How's everybody? Great. So good to hear it. It's from my childhood. The host used to talk to the audience like that. How are you? Good? Good. Glad to hear it. I don't know why. Maybe they thought it was a two-way thing. The industry was so new. The television medium. Now it's, even I'm on something. You could tune me in on this, whatever this is. But welcome. Glad to have you. I was watching a World War I documentary last night. Cameras were pretty new back then, So they didn't really have a lot of film of World War I. The film they did have, though, was pretty amazing. And this was a colorized version. And I got to tell you, early on in the colorization thing, I guess Ted Turner decided to take some classic movies, black and white movies, and colorize them. And it was terrible. It was back in the 80s, I think. And the technology just wasn't there. It really sucked. And everybody looked orange. And, the color of the clothes was always off, and it would move later than the person would. It was just really bad. This is pretty good, though. They take this film from World War I and colorize it in a pretty decent way. Some of it, I guess, was so grainy and bad that it was very hard to digitally colorize it. But some of it, it kind of brings you right there. Like, it's not was this colorized Citizen Kane or something? Yeah. That's terrible. Yeah, so it was pretty bad, but this one was all right. And I don't know not that I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure the colorization makes it more real. It's an odd thing. You watch something in black and white, like a documentary, though, World War I or World War II. You watch it in black and white, and it's like, all right, yeah, I'm getting the history and the knowledge from it and whatnot, but I'm not getting as much emotion from it. I'm not really feeling involved, and I can't really empathize as much with the people in there. And then you throw some color in there, and you're like, oh, shit, that shit's fucked up. Why? I don't understand why that is. It's such an odd visual thing that affects your whole thought process on what you're watching. The Austrian, one of the royal family of Austria was killed by a Serbian. And I'm like, well, who cares? Like, who gives a shit?
And even the assassination was luck.
Yeah, that was pure luck.
They went to assassinate him and missed him.
Yeah.
And then there was like a parade, and he had to make a wrong turn.
And he just walked up with a gun.
And the guy walked out of the deli or whatever and was like, oh, there he is.
Hey, there's the guy I'm trying to kill. There's the guy I'm trying to kill. But, I'm not going to do a history lesson here. That isn't what this is about. But the point is, from what I gathered from the documentary, back then, all these countries wanted to go to war. They had their armies. They had built it up. Germany had decided at some point, they saw, like England had this amazing fleet of ships, and they were colonizing places around the world. And Germany's like, well, we could do that too. Why can't we do that? And everybody was very nationalistic. So they were very proud of their nation, and it was glorious to go into battle. Here's what they didn't realize, though. The technology that was coming out made war unfucking believable. It was nothing like they'd ever seen before. So before you know it, they're fighting and being gassed and blown up by these monstrous machines, artillery that is the size of a building, just coming in at you. And it really, made people go, holy shit, this whole war thing is totally different than it used to be. Maybe it's not that good to do anymore. And then 20 years later, they forget and decide to do it again. They decide to do it again. I know I'm going a ways, but here's my point. The atomic bomb ends World War II. for the most part. Traditional war got rid of the European theater of operations, but the atomic bomb ended World War II, and I honestly believe ended global conflict. And here's the point. I think we needed World War I and World War II to kind of teach people how bad war at that scale is. If we would have come out with the atomic bomb, I think before we had gone through something like World War I and World War II, we would have just been using it willy-nilly, I think. I think it would have just been like, oh, we don't care. Because we wouldn't have had to gone through all that traditional carnage of war, on a global scale. And I'm not talking if we lose this war, something, we have to change a policy. When you look at the Gulf War and things like that, if we lose those wars, we're still here going out on the weekends and, fucking around. We didn't get something done that we wanted to get done. A lot of people were killed and injured and stuff. But our lifestyle here in the United States isn't going to change. When you lose a world war, like World War I and World War II, that's it. You're done. Like, you lose everything. Your country's gone. Your way of life is gone. So you're fighting that type of war with every single thing you have, right to the bitter end. And you will use a nuclear bomb to keep that from happening, because what have you got to lose? That's the point. So I believe, watching the documentary from last night and knowing what I know about World War II, I honestly believe if we hadn't gone through and seen that kind of carnage, just 10 million people killed, if we hadn't seen that and then just happened to come up with the atomic bomb, I think we might have destroyed ourselves at some point. With a global conflict that had nuclear weapons. I honestly think so. So, you got to look at history in context and think, all right, that was terrible. It was really bad. But, everything kind of has its good side. And I really think we might not be here if it wasn't for those horrid global conflicts that we had. Yeah, so I highly recommend. And they had some live interviews of people, and obviously it was taken. I think the latest ones were in the 90s, maybe. But veterans of World War I, these guys, they showed their birth date, and it was like 1895 and shit. Like, a guy's born in the 1800s. That's, pew pew, cowboy shit time. But it was so hard to understand what they were saying because they were English and they were old. And so you're just getting, we're getting sent over the top and the conversation about many of my friends were saying different. But when you go to say and I'm like, I want to hear what he's saying, but I can't understand him.